gentlemen, viewers and subscribers and listeners of all ages. Battle Rap Radar brings to you the tag team duo on internet radio with K-Side Carter, the hardest working man on internet radio, 1791. We bring to you the Way In. And if you are down with that, I got 2 words for you. Subscribe now. Sorry, man. I'm having too much fun with these intros, man. Everyone, welcome back to Radar Network presents The Way In, where we discuss all the hot topics and current events in the world of MMA and mixed martial arts. Let's get into it. But before that, man, you were a busy guy last night. 1791, how are you holding up?
Once again, I'm here on another pay-per-view stream, watching another battle rap and another UFC.
Man, you must have had the whole system, the TV, the tablet, the MacBook Air, everything last night, man. Really impressive job that you did, I have to say, overall. So,
hey, man, I got to keep up, man. It's hard, but I got to keep up somehow. Hardest working, outwork the work.
Right. When I saw you doing all those things, I was like, I was in my room. I was like, hard work, dedication, hard work. You motivated me. You and Mr. John Jones motivated me.
We're gonna get into that one.
That's for sure. To get out of it. So for all the viewers that just tuned in, if you haven't tuned in for last week's show we recapped UFC Fight Night, Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Weidman. We did a grading for the UFC on their rookie year of new ownership, and big thing that we're going to discuss today is we did a UFC 214 preview, which we will discuss in length tonight, and most likely where will these fighters go from here. Before we get into that, I'm going to do the usual. This is going to be real quick, the ICYMI, in case you missed it, which will be weekly news from July 24th to now. So nothing so much newsworthy-wise, because all the focus, of course, was on the big WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Granddaddy event, UFC 214 last night. The only slight bit of news that they had was the UFC showed the fourth quarter schedule, where basically the cities where the UFC will be hosting fights from now until end of the year. The only little thing was it had a pretty international presence. Half of the cities are international, including like Australia, Shanghai, China, Brazil, and Poland, which really shows UFC is really trying to showcase their championship into new markets. One thing I want to bring up is 1791. One venue that they kind of had on their mind it has UFC 218, which will be held in one of our battle rap favorite places, Detroit, Michigan. Do you think we're going to get a Calico?
Calico versus Ill Will.
Yeah, that would be great. I was about to say, considering, especially your interview last night and what that guy did on the Born Legacy Supreme stage, they should basically give cage side seats for the UFC for that event in Detroit to cage side Carter, 1791, and the kid JC, huh? He deserved it from last night, I would say.
Yak Town.
That's right, Yak Town in the building. And the last little thing is there's a UFC Fight Night next Saturday, August 5th. It's between number 6 and number 7 fighters, Sergio Pettis versus Brandon Moreno. And believe it or not, there are no UFC events, like I mentioned last podcast, at all until September. So they're definitely going to make everybody yearn for this Mayweather McGregor boxing match. So get ready for that. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be a heavy artillery of promotion coming our way.
That's for sure. That'll be mostly Showtime, but UFC will have the usual embedded series and things like that. But that was the news in case you missed it and other things for the intro. But let's talk about it before we get into the UFC 214 recap and to kind of go with what I was just saying. Question for you, 1791. Do you think the advertising and promotion for a standout card, which was UFC 214 last night, Daniel Cormier Jones 2, like this, do you think it was kind of overshadowed by the Mayweather McGregor, all that promotion before?
I think so. I mean, they're going on a world tour for a fight a few months down the road, but hey, man, money talks and bullshit walks. So they're gonna go ahead and promote. I like it's the circus show. They got to promote the circus show. You know, I thought the same thing though. That it was a fairly minimum amount of hype for a card that you could argue was better than UFC 200 on paper.
Yes. Yes, I completely agree. You know, you have this fight, which especially as far as the high level of mixed martial arts that hardcore fans want to see, and social casuals, you know, it really only got coverage from Fox Sports and maybe slightly some ESPN. But as far as the other big networks go, NBC and CBS and all that other stuff, you know, it was rarely talked about on a lot of the sports shows. It was all about what's next for Mayweather and McGregor. So it was kind of sad, but I think the numbers will do well. And obviously, overall, huge hype. But I would say it's a pretty good show that happened, set of fights that happened yesterday.
It was a good card. I think it was better than the past couple cards.
That I completely agree. And, you know, let's just get right into it. And I'm not exactly sure how you want me to do this. Do you want me to start from, like, the first fight, starting from the bottom, now we're here, like Drake says, and just go that way, working in the main event? Or do we just run all the on Jones? Or we can just go over. How would you feel to do it? Start with Manuel.
Let's make everyone wait, and let's talk Volkan Ozdemir and Jimmy Manuwa. What the fuck was that?
You know, it's funny. Sometimes I have things written down, and sometimes I use proper language, but that's exactly what I put on my notes. Exactly what you said. So for the viewers out there, the first opening match could be like a co-head event, mainliner. It was Jimmy Manuwa, number 3, calls himself the poster boy, versus this new up-and-coming guy that just came out of nowhere. Posted. Yeah, all I know is by names. I would never take this guy on. His name is Volkan Ozdemir. And Volkan Ozdemir knocked out Jimmy Manuwa in 30 seconds. And just like you said, what the heck happened? Is this guy the real deal? Or I don't know. Talk to him, man.
I got to say, I got to take a step back. Last week, predicting winners, yes, I was wrong predicting DC winning. But besides that fact, I said, who's next for these two guys, for either winner? And I said, who are they going to give him? Volkan Ozdemir? I mean, what's he, you know, are they going to be able to promote him? You are damn well sure they are going to be able to promote him for any fight after that win. I mean, on the big stage like that, on, like you said, and like I said, you know, one of the biggest cards of the year. And he just, I mean, not only the punches that led to it, but for how fast it was, and to take out a killer like Jimmy Manuwa, and on top of it, he just tossed him like a rag doll at the end, was incredible. I mean, one of the probably the best performance in terms of just straight dominance the whole card.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. And the only thing is, like, that wasn't the only guy he's done that to. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's been on a streak now.
I'm just not sure if I'm all in, if I'm sold on. Obviously, if I had to bet, that guy would have lost me a lot of money over the last, couple of times he fought. But it's like the fights are so quick. It's like, can you judge him on, being the next one in line for that? Obviously, the way the 205 division is, he's got to be close. He's definitely close.
Yeah, I mean, I got to admit, he's right in there. He's got to be super duper close to being able to secure a title shot. And not for nothing, the light heavyweight division's open.
Right.
John Jones is back on top, but DC's not getting the rematch. I don't see Gustafson getting, the next shot. It's I'm wondering who they're going to give Jones next, and I'm damned if they give Brock Lesnar. I'm not trying to get into a rant, but that is one fight that I'm not really Like, I don't want to see that.
Right. All I know is they do actually give give John Jones Brock Lesnar on the UFC fourth quarter schedule. It showed like 6 international places, 4 that were in the U.S., and there was one place that was listed as to be determined because they didn't know where it would be located. But I thought of it after John Jones won and called him out. Do you know where they're actually going to have that?
No, I don't. I didn't see. What's the scoop?
Oh, no. The next place that John Jones will be taking on Brock Lesnar, of course, it's going to be Suplex City.
Yeah.
Suplex City.
Oh, man.
That was just a bad show. Okay. But I'm glad I got that on the air. But,
you ain't lying, though.
Be a good way to move on. So this was a barn burner of a fight. I kind of got annoyed with myself because I was like, you see all these title fights, you think everything's 5 rounds, and I got a little bit sad because this one was only a 3-rounder. But the next one on the card was the one Robbie Lawler versus Donald Cerrone. In the end, Robbie Lawler won via unanimous decision, although it was slightly controversial, 17-91. Did the judges get it right with the decision for Lawler?
I would say, it was close. It was a debatable, It was the famous words, debatable. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I think that at the end of the day they did get it right. I think Cerrone could have done more to actually steal it.
Yes.
So that's just kind of Robbie Lawler's just was going for it more. He came out in the first round right away. That it started to almost look like it was going to be kind of one-sided. And the second 2 rounds were extremely close, where they could, if anybody's arguing on Donald Cerrone's behalf, I'm not going to be mad at you or tell you that you're wrong. But, that's a fight that needed another 2 rounds. I would have rather seen this fight be taken off and put as a main event for a Fox, a FS1 or a UFC on Fox card. And, not for nothing, I would have rather seen Weidman and Gastelum in this slot and Cerrone and Lawler to headline just for the difference of the 3 rounds and the 5 rounds. Hindsight's always 20/20, but that fight needed to have 2 more rounds. I wouldn't mind running it back. I just wish Cerrone, I know that's his style and it's always been like that. I just wish Cerrone went for it just a little bit more. It's kind of, he always takes the first round to warm up. Ever since his career started.
And that was the thing. It was a little bit of his lackadaisical approach that I think kind of cost him the fight. And one thing that I freaking just cannot stand, and he does it all the time, Donald Cerrone, and this time he played a little bit possum, Robbie Lawler, and caught him, was basically the first round hits up. You tap gloves at the beginning. You go out there, maybe tap gloves. But Cerrone's getting all riled up and saying, yeah, this could be a great fight, and kind of going out there and trying to hug him. And after he taps glove, Lawler just goes on the attack. So he catches him completely off guard, and it took Cerrone 2 minutes to kind of get that back. And Cerrone did the same thing in the 3rd round. He kind of went out there trying to just give him a sportsmanship hug. I was like, what are you doing? You're in a fight. You're a fighter. Go out there and beat him up. And then, hug afterwards, okay, when the decision is announced. And you're definitely not going to feel so great when you're on the losing end, which is what happened. I think just that little taking his foot off the gas pedal is kind of what swayed the judges to giving it to Lawler.
Yeah, that's the same thing that I was gonna allude to. I feel like he sometimes he's too friendly, but he still goes in there and goes for the kill. It's not like it's just his sportsmanship is almost too much.
Yeah. It's like last week we had a cowboy that kind of did the same thing, but he went there and eventually knocked out the guy. This cowboy, he was on the wrong end. But to follow up with that though, do you think Lawler's performance? I know it was only 3 rounds. Do you think he did enough to show the world that he's the next worthy challenger to we'll talk about in a couple fights now. Tyron Woodley. Is he the
I
number
don't
one?
think so. I think he needs one more. I mean, even if Woodley kind of sits it out for a little bit, I mean, Lawler's not going to – I don't imagine Lawler to be out too long. If he could get another fight soon, I'd like to see him get one more fight, even if it's a tune-up against a lesser-ranked opponent or or a title eliminator. Because especially the way he lost to Woodley, like it wasn't like it was a close fight.
Right.
So I would love to see Lawler back against someone like that, but I think he needs one more.
True, I kind of agree with you as well. It was kind of funny watching that fight. I go, yeah, no opponent really showed any type of, I don't know, any type of way where they really felt like, yes, they're the ones that are next in line. And of course, Joe Rogan puts him on the spot. He says, later on tonight, Woodley and Maia are fighting. Are you going to say you want to be the winner? And he's like, well, I just want to make sure that my friend Matt Hughes is okay, and I got to go visit somebody else. So he was put on the spot saying, hey, do you want the number one contender? And, the people that are playing matchmaker are back there saying, please say something to make my life easier. You won. You probably are number one contender. And he just, dodged the question. The only little thing that I feel that would make me think that he would be a worthy challenger is because that make him a worthy challenger would because of Woodley's underwhelming and uninspiring performance. It's like, who else do you give him? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, you're pretty much on point with everything you're saying. It's like he doesn't look like he's ready to capture that title again in terms of the killer instinct. I would love to see him take one more, and he gave the old, like you said, he kind of dodged that question. He gave the old NFL quarterback answer.
Right.
But
politically correct.
I think he needs to take one more. If he takes one more, he could, maybe he starts to get that feel again. To be honest, man, I want to see Stephen Thompson back in there. Damian Maia, maybe Damian Maia and Robbie Lawler could fight for a title. I'd like to see Masvidal.
Yeah.
Maybe, a good mix of one of those guys. One of those guys needs to get mixed in there for a title eliminator. One of those be able to be shuffled in there, even though that's a few rematches between, depending on who you match up, what names you want to shuffle where. I think Woodley should wait for a real number one contender, and what happens after that. And Lawler, I don't think he's ready for a title shot yet. I definitely don't think so.
Right, I completely agree. That was my next question. Where do you think they should go from there? But you basically just kind of answered that, and Lawler should get another one before he fights for the title, and we'll see what happens with Tyron. But one question I definitely understand why someone that's the number one contender or someone that's going for number one contender would choose to dodge that question, are you ready to fight the champion next, is one that it's already happened to before. That leads us to our third fight in the first fight for a championship last night was Cyborg versus Tanya Evinger. Cyborg won with the third round TKO and becomes a new featherweight women's champion. In this fight here, did Tanya Evinger, the challenger, did she earn your respect, man?
If she didn't earn your respect after taking that beating, right. I don't know what the heck. Like that was crazy, man. Like I was just watching in awe. Like, how the heck is she still standing? What's funny is that I said it to myself like 10 times, but then like as soon as I said it one time, I'm like, oh, there it is. Like finally, like the inevitable happened. But man, Cyborg is another beast. I don't even know. That's like, I know the question's coming, but I don't know. I don't know who she should fight next. Who's gonna really challenge her?
That's an excellent question. In this case here, she did call out Holly Holm. I think Holly said something like, "I'd fight her," but obviously,
Yeah, I
knowing what
bet you would.
fight lined up, they had to get a 135. And from what I heard from people, Cyborg and Tanya Evinger have the same manager, so they definitely did not want that fight to happen. It was probably something where like the manager like kind of like begged her to do that, knowing she'll get her biggest payday ever, Evinger, and just please, since Megan Anderson, for unknown reasons, said no, thank you, to do it. But I guess the question more should be, did Evinger's performance, because she did take her to the third round, although she kind of was like a human punching bag, did she lead at least others to believe that at least, Cyborg's beatable in your case?
I mean, Cyborg's gonna be beatable. Right now, is she beatable? There's just not anybody like who's. I mean, honestly, like I hate to say it for the people who really are in that division. I'm not trying to throw shade, but who's in the 145 women's division who's actually going to challenge Cyborg right now? So then it's like, okay, let's turn our eyes to the bantamweights and the 135ers, and it's like, well, who the hell there is going to beat Cyborg? So like, I don't look at any name in the top 10 like they even have a remote chance. On the ground, there's not anybody who's like a super jiu-jitsu who's going to give her trouble on the ground, and there's nobody that's going to stand with her. Like, the only person I can think, and it's just because of her body type, would maybe be someone like Juliana Pena, but does she even fight anymore? Like, is she going to be healthy ever?
Right.
I don't know.
I have no idea. What I do know, which brings it to a unique topic, because she kind of bounced around and evaded the question, was typically what happens is you have a contract and it's like a fight contract. All right, I'll take an 8-fight contract, a 4-fight contract, and once you're done with the contracts, then you can do whatever you want. You can retire early, but if you go back, you have to go back to that organization, or you have to buy them out or something. Cyborg has a unique contract where hers is going by time. I guess her contract is up in September, and they're saying, will she re-sign with the UFC or will she resign? I know Bellator does have a 145 featherweight division, and there's more girls there than there are here. She's kind of been unhappy with Dana White. Do you think when it comes to September they're going to work something out and get her some opponents, or kind of leave this to a way where they're just going to scrap 145 and then just do 135, 125, 115, just say, Cyborg, go somewhere else, do something, other organization?
I mean, they could probably just make their peace. I mean, she wasn't even the second headliner, She was the third title fight, kind of just shuffled in there on somebody who abandoned the belt. It would be really silly in terms of all the woes that I've been saying the UFC's, and like, of course, the UFC's, it's not like I'm saying the UFC's going down or anything like that, but with all these things that they're doing, and even now, like, I don't want to get into it, but the Brock Lesnar, like, all this not really booking who should be booked against each other and stuff like that, I could see them just scrapping the division, but it's going to be like, really? You're going to just scrap it? Why don't you do the same thing you did with the 115 and create an Ultimate Fighter out of it? Like, create an Ultimate Fighter out of it, take some other companies' 145ers and do something that way. But if they get rid of her, I don't think they're really losing much. That's for sure. They got enough people and they've got enough following that it's not going to be something that people are going to be slamming them for. I think people will more slam them for the fact that they're going to get rid of a division than just getting rid of one fighter.
I completely. It probably would be bad PR to do that, but probably from like a business standpoint, they're probably kind of like itching to scrap that division, And as far as something where it's like, hey, is someone worth the amount that you're paying them, and scrapping a champion or a division? That brings us into our next fight, where we got a lot to talk about here before we get to the granddaddy of them all. So the co-main event and a lot of people are interested in this grappler versus wrestler. Although I really think wrestling is kind of like grappling, but it was Tyron Woodley, the champion, versus Damian Maia in the 170-pound welterweight division, and Tyron Woodley put on Tyron Woodley won. He won by unanimous decision, but it wasn't the most. It was underwhelming, uninspiring, but he got the W. 1791. Just talk to me about how it went.
I mean, I don't hate the fight. Was it the most exciting fight? No. But I don't hate it. Like, there's a lot of people booing, a lot of people who hate that style of fighting, and it's especially when you have a big draw, like these type of cards where they bring in the not even casuals. They bring in people who don't even really, like, for lack of better words, care about MMA at all or UFC. Like, they know the big names and that's it. But when you have cards like that, there's always a fight like this. And there's been so much more boring fights, and that's saying that knowing that they didn't even they broke a record for lowest amount of punches thrown in a welterweight title fight. But I gotta be honest with you, man, like, it was a chess match. I appreciate grappling, coming, like I said, myself from a wrestling background also. So, like, I appreciate the grappling and the strategic moves in it, especially when you take someone like Damian Maia, who's, I mean, I think he's probably the best right now, best BJJ practitioner in the game. I mean, maybe you can say Jacare maybe, close second, or a few other people, but besides the fact, someone like that who's 0 for 17 at one point during the fight in takedowns goes to show you something. And it's like, I give way more credit to Tyron Woodley for going in there and stuffing 17 straight takedown attempts. And yeah, it wasn't a super exciting display of his prowess and what he does, but the very first takedown, he landed an uppercut that busted his eye open. Well, it didn't bust it open, but he swelled up his eye. So it's like, you go and you look at that, and the things that he was doing, he wasn't not throwing punches. He was grappling out of being taken down and being submitted by the best BJJ, practitioner in the game. So it's just like even Dana White was criticizing Woodley, and I know Dana White and Woodley have their outside of the ring, issues with some of the things that Woodley said on behalf of race and things like that. That's a conversation we could get into another day, but you're going to rip someone who won the fight clearly and who was able to stuff those takedowns like that. Anybody else who would have done that, I think Dana White would have been praising him and would have been hating on Damian Maia. I think, he got a little bit of his biasness in terms of, like I said, the outside things that they have in terms of issues, but Woodley didn't put on a show, but what he did was impressive. To stuff that many takedowns and to be able to fight defensively the way he did showed another piece of his arsenal. That's something that goes to show you, he's not going to be taken down and submitted easily. I dared to make the comparison, just trying to make a slight comparison. I know they're not close to each other, but I dared to make the Paul Daly comparison in terms of being all stand-up and getting submitted on the ground. But no, man, Woodley, I give Woodley his props, especially for being ripped by so many people. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Woodley did his thing. Maia needs to learn how to mix it up more. I know he's going in there against somebody who can punch his head off, but less feints and going for the takedown are only going to take you so far.
Yeah, I don't know how to say this, man, but I kind of have to play devil's advocate and kind of say it the opposite way. And it's kind of weird because we're both wrestlers, but we kind of have the different perspectives on it here. But, in my case here, and just to go on with what 1791 is saying for the viewers, yes, I guess there probably was 2 records that were broken in this title fight. They held the record for futility, which means least thrown punches in a title fight. I guess the previous record was 120 punches thrown. This was only 60. And remember, this goes over 5 rounds, so that's extremely low. Outside of that, what he was mentioning was Woodley's takedown offense, where I think the overall statistic, the number was Woodley stuffed 21 out of 21 takedown attempts. Now, 1791 thinks that's highly impressive because obviously it's 100% takedown defense rate. But in my opinion, that either means, you know, you're really, really, really good at stopping takedowns, or you're really, really, really bad at attempting to take someone down. And I really feel, looking over, you know, the past people Maia beat, they were strikers. They weren't like collegiate level wrestlers. He doesn't even really set up his takedowns that well. Like, a lot of those takedowns are just terrible. The main thing Maia is known for is once he does grab onto you and at least gets you down, you stay down. But the main thing is you got to get to the person. And Woodley, being like an All-American and, you know, college level wrestling, and all he had to do was work down the takedown attempt, and this being MMA wrestling where you can see the takedowns coming versus wrestling where you're more in control and up closer to the person, I don't think it was that difficult. I like that Maia tried to take him down close to the fence, because there normally wrestlers would sprawl. But he didn't have the ability to sprawl because of the fence in MMA. So Woodley used a lot of brute strength. But obviously, as he mentioned, he busted up his eye in the very first round. And you could see that he could see the takedowns coming away, because normally it's your head first and then it's your hands that try to stop someone's takedown. And he timed it to the point where not only did he stop him from taking him down, but he was able to throw an uppercut that really changed the outcome of the fight. So, yeah, really impressive by, Tyron Woodley. But, you know, my main thing was, I just thought he took it a little bit too safe. I low-key kind of agreed with Dana White. And it's like, from what I heard yesterday, I found out for that fight, Tyron Woodley made $500,000, $500,000. Underwhelming win. And it's, for someone like him at 170 weight, you want to put him, he wants to be your marquee guy. You want to have him headline. How can you headline him when everyone's booing, saying boring, and it looks like the Wyatt family's coming in with all the freaking cell phones in the air? You know, like, he's right. It was a chess match, but you're a prize fighter, man. Was that a $500,000 like performance if you're like the head business guy?
Definitely not $500,000 performance. I did not even know that he got paid that much. I will tell you. I mean, what you alluded to, you're right. It's not as impressive as maybe I'm trying to make it seem. Like I said, I'm trying to play a little bit devil's advocate too. Woodley receiving the brunt of the criticism, but am I crazy for saying that I would like to, like, I don't want to see a whole nother fight. I think I just want to see one more round. Like, is that crazy of me to say?
Yeah.
I think I would like to see. I think I'd like to see if Maia could solve the puzzle after the 5 rounds, or Woodley be able to land the uppercut that's going to end it, as opposed to just busting his eye. And I'll definitely give you the fact that Woodley cruised the last 3 rounds. He cruised in terms of just timing the takedowns and uppercut, back up, shuck him off, and circle. Uppercut, back up, shuck him off, and circle. Like, you know, it was. I get it, but I think I sound insane, but I think I'd like to see not a whole another 5 rounds. I'd like to see one more round for all the marbles.
Hey, I got time on my hands. I'll take another round.
Take it for free, Woodley. You got $500,000. Damn it!
All right. And then he calls out GSP, which is going to be my next question to you. But
oh my God, GSP needs to go to the PGs. GSP needs to fight on the Tuesday Night Contenders first. Tired of hearing his name in title contention.
Dana White should just send him 4 words in a text message: be humble, sit down.
Man.
Hey, come on. But,
what would be an interesting fight for GSP? If he's not going to fight Silva, give him. Where's Carlos Condit? Can Carlos Condit come back and fight him? If not, give him Nick Diaz. Don't regulate the fight in terms of, let's try to get it out of the commission so Diaz doesn't have to be drug tested and just turned into a no contest. And just let them duke it out, you know. We'll give them 5 rounds in the UFC gym for the culture.
Yeah.
Come on, small room battle.
I like that idea. Hopefully Dana and the matchmakers are listening.
Right.
Yeah, they gotta step it up. They go to the PG.
Give them the PG Tuesday contenders. Put GSP on the Tuesday night contenders.
I went from math to Lux in 1 year. How about this? You guys will be talking about that.
So it's time to get into the main one.
Yeah, man, I wish I could just do some of the sound effects. I'd be like, drum roll, please. But it's underwhelming. The co-main event was, you know what you paid your ticket for. You know why you were here. And that was finally to see something that I think was 5 attempts, 4 years in the making to come again. That was Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier 2. And the outcome was what? Jones, 3rd round, TKO with some vicious ground and pound. I just want to hear your overall thoughts. Is Jon Jones finally back in your good graces? Did he make up for every dumb, stupid thing he's done for all of us?
I'm not going to lie. In the first 2 rounds, he wasn't really.
Yeah.
But damn, Jon Jones.
Oof.
You proved me wrong, and I got to give it to you, man. That was a nice little turnaround for you. Like you said, 4 years in the making. It's like we've been all waiting for this fight as fans, even as the casuals. They've been all waiting for it, and it's like for it to finally come to fruition. Like it lived up to the hype. You know, it wasn't a boring fight. It was competitive. Both rounds were close. It's like Jon Jones. It's like Jon Jones controlled the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then DC started to find his range in the second 2 minutes and 30 seconds of both rounds. Like the right hooks that he started to land, I was getting excited, man. I thought my predictions were gonna go right. I was ready to celebrate, pop a bottle of champagne. But I got to give it to both of them. I mean, you can't help but feel bad for whoever's going to be the loser in that one when they put so much into one fight, one night. But I got to give it to Jon Jones. He really proved himself. Like, that's it. I brought it up earlier, and now it's time. But who's he gonna fight? Who are we gonna put in front of him? The only person that I think that can give him a run for his money, I personally think, already retired.
1791. Can you hold on for a second?
Yes, sir.
First caller. We have a first caller.
All right.
Yeah. So hold on. Are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, we wanted to answer your question about who's up next for Jon Jones. I have on the line here Paul Heyman. He has something to answer for you. Brock Lesnar.
You are not lying. I mean, the hype is real, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Suplex City.
I go to myself, what could ever beat Mayweather McGregor? There's nothing.
Brock Lesnar, Jon Jones.
Yeah. You talk about, you have boxing casuals that, know Floyd Mayweather and it kind of gets them buzzing, but they really know Conor McGregor. But you're going to have the hardcore MMA people that know Jon Jones. But when you talk about fans worldwide, Brock Lesnar's a pretty household name. If you talk about doing numbers, I know we already did it before, but gosh.
We're going to have to do a crossover episode with Ringside.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to do a duo show, man. We're gonna have to do the Ringside Radio, the weigh-in. I'll talk about it, man. We'll have to have the debate. I was like, Jon Jones. Did you know what the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar did to the Undertaker streak? Do you want that to happen to yours?
Jon Jones is gonna get his head bitten off.
True, and if Paul Heyman walked him out to the ring, that would be crazy. That'd be awesome.
I want Paul Heyman to buy Dana White out his contract so Paul Heyman could run the UFC.
Yeah, I agree, but man, I felt just like you said it because I know we kind of spoke about it a little bit last night, but I did feel terrible for DC. You know, he just ran into the Michael Jordan of his era. The sad thing about DC is that's happened twice to him. He out of the blue, he doesn't even look like an athletic guy, but he's built like a truck, and he was like one of the best college wrestlers I've ever seen. But then he had to run into Cael Sanderson, who did not lose in college. And, of course, he didn't lose in college when DC was there. Now he has to run into the best mixed martial artist who truly felt DC thought after everything with the long layoff and all the baggage Jones had, this being in Anaheim, which is literally an hour from where he trains in San Jose, that maybe out of 10 times they fought, DC could win once, but this would be his once. And did you feel that DC was a little bit of a sore loser? And how do you feel for DC going forward?
I don't want to criticize him saying he's a sore loser. I mean, a lot's going on in the brain when you get knocked out. So and I don't want to criticize him on behalf of that. I do think it was a sign out of his character in terms of he doesn't really, the crying's one thing. Hey, you're going to be the Jordan meme, but who cares, You built so much time and pressure and built your life around this one moment to be able to win. And, deep down, he's, that what John Jones is throwing those jabs about not being the real champ, he's going to be people who criticize and who question that. So it's it's a tough loss to swallow. Now, granted, the pushing the arms of the security and Dana White and all that, in the heat of the moment, I mean, I don't really know what happened. I think that I'm thinking he didn't realize that he was knocked out. So when everything came back, he's kind of in disbelief still. And still gathering himself, even though he's stood up and awake. So I won't hold it against him. I don't say he's a sore loser. I think DC he's built too much of a character of being the good guy to kind of really feel to be a sore loser. I think he'll still be humble in victory the next time you hear from him. But it stinks at the end of the day. You can't help but feel bad, and it's just
true.
See him turn into a meme. That sucks,
That was a good meme, by the way. that was a good meme. But for viewers that don't know, what happened was there's some John Jones hit Daniel Cormier with a nasty leg kick, almost like the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey one. He didn't really go down like Rousey did, like a stack of bricks, but he started
did the stanky leg.
Yeah.
He did the old Rashad Evans stanky leg.
Yeah, man, he was wobbling, man. Then he bounced on the stage, was coming with a flying knee, and he somehow, I think, instincts moved out the way, and then it just hit up with vicious ground and pound. But there was some
sweep before the ground and pound was insane too. It's he kicked the back of his legs and he went flying because he was already on shaky legs.
Yeah, it was beautiful instinct, and for someone that thinks I don't know, I thought he was just a freestyle guy, but someone that thinks DC, he's a Greco-Roman Olympian wrestler, which is mainly upper body, but there's certain sweeps you can do. Jones, man, he hit him with these beautiful sweeps early on, just tapping the outside of his leg. He just pushed him off. Something that's really highly technical, but if you watch it, you're this guy's just bullying him around. But it was beautiful to see. But to answer your question that you kind of mentioned earlier about other people kind of throwing shade, on my timeline on Twitter, Frank Mir, former UFC champion Frank Mir.
I saw this.
Yeah. People need to understand why DC was so hurt by outcome. The loss means he was never really champ and only had title because of John's absence. I was like, ouch. Someone's reality check. I go, man, he's a champion, man. I get what he's saying, but that's a little bit of an insult.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that, I thought, well, I mean, would he feel, would he feel the same if somebody said, well, his win against Brock Lesnar was only a fluke because he ended up being validated that when he got his face bashed in at UFC 100?
Right.
I mean, like, it's hindsight's always 20/20. There's no need to be an asshole about it. Like,
Right.
That was just a dick move by Frank Mir, for real.
It sure was. I got like 20 likes on a tweet that I sent back to him. I'm like, I'm not trying to get blocked by these guys, especially if I'm covering them. But I'll try to say something where, it's a low key diss, but it makes sense. So I think I said something back like, ouch, that was a little rough. Are you sure that you don't feel a little bit sour because DC beat you, but he's actually a light heavyweight? Question mark.
Right.
But I was like, he was trying to in the wound, and I was like, he did whip your ass, and he technically can make 205. You can't, so maybe he was just trying to say that. But no, anybody that beats Rumble Johnson twice and chokes him out, and then beats Gustafsson, yeah, it's John Jones you lose to, but yeah, so is everybody. You're still the champ. You're still the freaking champ. Outside of that, how do you feel about John Jones' acceptance speech? We talked about the Lesnar part, but do you think he was being like a phony gracious because of what happened, or he was really reflecting on how his past maybe 4 or 5 years went, and this was like a caterpillar to a butterfly, like a beautiful thing that happened where, he's at peace with himself now?
I think it was a little. I guess, is it fair to say it's a little mixture of both? I mean, I think he definitely did it to put on the show. Because if he genuinely felt like it, I feel like, even though, granted, the way DC was acting after he stood up, I would imagine, you don't want to do that, but I feel like he would have done that before even getting a grip on the microphone, and settle differences in terms of a handshake and, a sign of respect and an embraceful hug and whatever. But other than that, I'm going to say the only other thing with that is he gave a nice testament to DC. In terms of saying that he inspired him. The way he's calculated, I believe all of what he said in terms of that. The only thing is just it feels slightly ingenuine just because you can only analyze it and overanalyze it so much. Yeah. But I'll give him his credit and say it was a nice sign of respect for him. I think it could have been timed better in terms of maybe doing it before, but that's just really, if I want to pick and criticize at him.
Yeah, I agree. And, he did a nice gesture, too, which I was wondering what was going to happen. But, DC was all business walking the ring. Jones looked like I don't even know how to say it, but, like a 70s hipster. He was, like, all smiling and everything like that, like he was going to a wedding. It was kind of funny. But, Jones did put it out there, and they touched gloves. So maybe that threw off DC a little bit, that all this hatred that Jones maybe
they did.
They have. But yeah, I was like, and then it was funny, kind of like to get the first shot in, like Jones puts up the gloves, and DC like punches his hands to tap the gloves. I was like, DC, good idea. Break his hands now. You're gonna need to. But I guess the last thing here, because I'm sorry for all the viewers. There's not going to be a Cage Side Carter rant for the week. We're always going to wrap it up, or we'll talk about, the UFC fight night that's next August 5th. But outside of this, we kind of know where Jones might be going or who he might take on next. What do you think is going to happen to DC? Do you think he's going to have a mental breakdown? Do you think he's going to come back? Do you think he's going to retire, go to heavyweight? What are your thoughts?
I really, really, really hope that he doesn't just disappear off into the sunset. One of those, one of those where he just ends everything because he lost it. He can come back, man. He beat Gustafsson more convincingly than John Jones did. So who's not to say that he can't come back, win a couple? The light heavyweight division, especially with some of the way these fights have gone right now, is fairly thin. It's kind of thin, and on its way to getting real deep because a lot of the guys who you don't think are going to win keep on winning. You know,
Right.
Ozdemir and people, you know. We had Manuel, he went and beat OSP and beat a couple people. We thought he's up next to be one of the contenders, and he goes and gets knocked down in 42 seconds.
Yes.
So I think in terms of that, he still has his chance. And at the end of the day, too, he can go right back up to heavyweight and fight at heavyweight. He's still marketable. He could still fight, and I think he should keep on doing it until he's not healthy anymore. Granted, he took a decent knockout, and he's fairly up there in his later 30s. But I think he could take a couple more, and still move up the ranks and still be competitive, and even like I said, maybe slide into the heavyweight division. Doesn't have to worry about cutting weight.
Sure.
And he might be able to last into those later rounds and look good,
Right.
be able to take out a Stipe or somebody like that. He put Roy Nelson on his ass. He can go in there and go fight with the big boys.
Oh, sure. DC definitely go heavyweight. He was undefeated at heavyweight earlier. He went down to 205 out of respect to his longtime teammate and the guy that got him into it, Cain Velasquez. So they might have to have a talk. The only thing is I'm just not sure if he's like mentally, defeated. Side bad joke, but he might be right now. He's probably feeling more deflated than the Patriots footballs. But outside of that, we don't know. But we'll talk about what's going to happen with John Jones, DC, and everybody else moving further. Our time is kind of running thin. Next week we'll review UFC Fight Night and the fallout of UFC 214, kind of when they do their own interviews with other people, talk shows, and see what they say moving further. Tune in to tonight for Battle Rap Radar Show. With the king of internet radio, 1791, where he'll talk. Someone's going to get that work about the mega rap event that was Born Legacy Supreme last night. Outside of that, we're out of here. Any last words, 1791?
You already know. If you're not doing it by now, then click that subscribe. Click that follow. GIAN, 1791. Battle Rap Radar. Learn how to spell.
Hallelujah. Keisai Carr, that's 1791 at GIAN 1791. I'm soon going to get the Keisai Carter Twitter follow for me, myself as well. So that is it. This is the way in, and we're out.
We are out.